My name is Councillor Keith Kandaka, and this is a short video about the Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council's 5-year land supply position. In this video I want to explain why the 5-year land supply position is dishonest in my view, and go into some of the details about this very boring but very important subject. The 5-year land supply position will actually affect which planning applications get permission, or whether the council is able to turn down permission for sites that are actually not really very suitable. The planning process is already pretty rotten and biased in the favour of developers. One of the very important things we need to do is actually to demonstrate we've got a 5-year land supply so that we can actually reject planning applications that are unsuitable. Clearly it's very important this assessment is done fairly, and one of the big issues is what target we've got to deliver over 5 years, and the government now requires us to add 20% onto this for market flexibility. So not only do we need to provide sites for 5 years worth of houses, we actually need to provide 6 years of sites that are deliverable within 5 years time scale. This makes it particularly difficult when you've got a council as inept as the Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council, who have set a ridiculously high target and are grossly underreporting the amount of sites that can be developed. I have done 2 separate videos about the actual targets, about the GL Hearn strategic housing market assessment and the way the job figures have been manipulated, but just want to emphasise the one number that gets carried forwards is the annual target from the work of the strategic housing market stuff into the 5-year land supply. And this table shows us that in Nuneaton and Bedworth we had a target for most of most of this century of either 360 or 270 homes per year, until recently when the council started hiking up and producing these stupid targets. And yeah, when we were regenerating Camp Hill in the early years we were massively over delivering on our targets, but obviously now we're having a shrinking working age population and we're finding times tough. The first area in calculating the 5-year supply is the full planning permissions that currently haven't yet been built, and the first table, table 6 from the document, shows we've got 946 homes still to build from planning permissions as of April 2015, and this figure's liable to be relatively accurate. My first area of concern is the sites with outline plan permission. That is, to have permission in principle to build homes, but all the details haven't yet been established. The first one of these sites on the list is the final phase of Camp Hill. Here you see 317 units of housing are going to be delivered, and they're looking at actually only delivering 50 units within the next 5 years. This is appalling, and obviously the market could be such that happens, but in principle all the homes could be developed. There is 60 or so to be demolished. The rest of the site is already cleared and ready to go ahead. So I would clearly say that this housing is deliverable in 5 years if the market conditions were right. The next one on this list, the blue line, is the land at Weddington off Church Lane. And this is a site for around 300 homes, half of which already had detailed plan permission, and they've put down that only 84 homes will be left to be built. In fact, there's a detailed permission for 160 homes already been approved onto this site, and clearly if the market was correct all these homes could actually be delivered. And it's a similar picture with, let's say, Smarts Road. They're looking at only 30 being delivered out of 92, but if the market conditions are right they clearly could all be delivered. The Davidson site in Wellington is well under development. The first few dozen homes are already built, and the 2 phases of it are now with full permission, so you can see the site will actually build back as quickly as the market will allow. And one of the things about deliverability is it depends what market you're considering deliverability. If the market is good, there doesn't seem to be any reason why this site couldn't be fully built out within 5 years, but obviously if we're still losing population in Nuneaton and Bedworth, it may take 15 years to be built out. The key point is this site is here. It has all the general layout developed, all the drainage has gone in, they're starting to build the roads. This is clearly a site that could be delivered within 5 years, and it's being missed off the list. On the opposite side of the Weddington Road is the Taylor Wimpey development. This is for 400 homes, and as you can see, this picture from Google Earth in October is already well underway. The 400 homes are being developed under 2 different brands or 2 different site names, and each could potentially sell 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 a year. So over 5 years we could clearly either build out most of the site or end up only building a few of these homes. But the plan, the outline permission for 400 is clearly going to build more than 30. The 5-year assessment assumes, here is shown here in green, we'll only build 30 out of 400 homes over 5 years. This is clearly nuts. I've also highlighted in red a few of the homes that have got outline permission up the long shoot. It's uncertain whether these will be built, how fast they'll be built, but yet again a ridiculously slow build number out, 25 and 30 over 5 years, when clearly if the market was there they could be built a lot quicker. And one of the things I've done is gone through this list and worked out potentially we could build 700 more homes in the next 5 years if we had a very, very strong economy. Most worrying though is a list of 1,178 homes that I've noticed have been approved by the planning inspector or the planning committee over the last couple of years that aren't yet in these 5-year land supply documents. Clearly some of them have happened since April, but some of them also should have been well known about, and clearly we have now given permission, as far as the committee is concerned, for these homes. Some of them the developers have yet to sign legal agreements, but clearly the legal agreements would be reasonable to sign, and if the market conditions were right, any or all of these could be signed, approved and have a detailed permission in, and part way through building over the next 5 years. And clearly if the market was assumed to be ridiculously strong, as it is in the borough plan GL Hearn crazy let's build 10,000 houses scenario, then these could be viable. Obviously in the dire market we've got, they're not, but that's not what we're assuming for the target. I'm now going to show you the crazy 5-year calculation done by the council. If you remember, the housing target has only gone up to 495 a year in February 2015, and yet they're claiming the target was 495 all the way back to 2011. So this gives a ridiculous catch-up requirement. So in this table, line A is the target, line B is the completions over the last 4 years, line C is how many completions we should have done at this crazy rate of 495 a year, and this means on the council's calculation we're 907 homes behind target. Obviously we never had a time machine to get that target back. Line E is what you'd expected then to deliver over the next 16 years. Then we're looking at how much of that should be delivered within 5 years plus 20%, which is the 3,555 to catch us up. And you look at our housing supply on the council's basis, 1,910, gives us a massive shortfall and only a just under 3-year housing supply. And this is crazy on many levels, both the stupid target and the low levels of housing supply. The problem with the council's calculation is the supply and demand side are done on totally different assumptions. The council supply side is assuming a really dire market in which houses hardly sell, whereas their housing demand side is done based on a booming economy with the population rising 910 people per year. I've redone the calculations with 3 scenarios on a consistent supply and demand basis. This first one shows the demographic based scenario, and in this I actually assume we actually need 328 homes per year as of the population stats in 2014. I look at we're having a very small shortfall, and I run the calculation through to actually show we actually have a 6-year housing supply if we're actually supposed to be meeting our demographic need, 328 a year. Yeah, we're building around 300 a year. Everything works. My second scenario is an economic based one, and for this I've used the Cambridge economic forecast of us generating a need for 410 homes a year, and this obviously is based upon a far better economy than we actually have. And in this scenario I've then added back the 700 homes that we could build, which have got outline plan permission, to actually have a housing supply of 2,600 in line G. And as you can see, yet again, if we run this scenario on a consistent basis in terms of what our supply is and our demand, we actually have about a 6 years housing supply. And finally, I've run what I call my mad scenario. This is where the local economy suddenly picks up and we're actually generating thousands of jobs, where the population's rising by 910 a year, and everything is going really brilliantly in Nuneaton and Bedworth. And for this scenario I've only started it from April 2015 because it is actually unreasonable to have a time machine and have this success in the past. So this is for a plan starting in 2015, so there's no catch up. We've looked at the housing requirement for that, and that would be just under 3,000, and I've established we actually have 4,200 homes actually on the list of ones that are found either by outline plan permission, allocations, etc. So actually saying 3,000 would be deliverable is not an outrageous assumption, and in that case we still, in an outrageously successful market, could actually supply 6 years worth of housing. We have sites already identified for 4,200 homes. We actually have, at a sensible building rate, 10 years supply, maybe 15. The town is developing really slowly. The population is growing at 250 a year. We do not need 10,000 homes. And I made this video not to actually suggest we will be building many hundreds per year, but actually to say if we had to, we could do without actually approving even more homes in stupid sites. Thanks for watching this video. The aim of the video is to demonstrate how broken the planning system is, and obviously the actual interpretation of where can and can't be built is a questionable one, but we undoubtedly have given out permission for thousands of homes, and we haven't got the shortage that the 5-year supply statement is making out. So please hassle the council, please hassle the targets down and the supply up, and yeah, keep having a go, because it's getting more and more stupid and we're building in more and more stupid places. Thank you.